419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419, powered by WGTE and presented by Wheatro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
Matt Killam.
It is a special Friday mystery guest edition of the 419. And Matt, it's your surprise guest.
That's right.
At this point, as of right now, do they know that they are going to be on the show in just a few minutes?
It's a dark studio. I'm hoping they're here.
When did you ask them to come? Last night?
Nope. This
we
individual and
will
I have
ask
been in
them.
correspondence for years in anticipation of this very day.
Why do I feel like you're throwing that message to a particular spot in the studio
Just
so that
putting
they
it out.
repeat?
I'm just telling my truth.
They
Yeah.
repeat that
Yeah,
loud.
Yeah.
that's right. Yep. We have been planning this rendezvous for a very long time. I think it's everyone's fear that their secret guest will not show,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there's
Or
a
any
relief-
guest,
there's
for
a
that
relief-
matter.
Yes. Or a relief.
Or any one of you.
That's right. And there is, when you hear the doorbell ring here at WGTE, it is a sweet relief.
Yes.
It's like a Pavlovian experience.
Yep.
Yeah, I think my
Pavlov was a Croatian basketball player.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was very tall.
Yes, so tall.
Yeah.
just kept ringing the bell.
Yeah.
I don't know, it was
He
weird.
loved it. Yeah, every time he made a basket.
It was weird.
Yeah.
No, my fear with the surprise guest is that either you guys are going to know them like way too well and we just dive in too deep too fast.
Sure.
Or like you're not interested in them at all.
That's usually what it is.
That's right.
I don't.
Any friend of mine
Right.
that's
We're like, God,
yeah.
who
I
are these
think
people,
that you
Kevin?
know this individual, and
Yeah. What are the hints?
okay, so it is. Well, it's a he.
Okay.
All right. He is the owner or recipient of 3 degrees.
Wow. Okay.
He's not somebody who beats around the bush. He, in my opinion, is a true community-oriented person and gives back in an important and, I think, interesting way. His expertise is on the cutting edge of a topic that is on everyone's mind and has sort of saturated, in my
Data
opinion.
centers.
That is one of the things. yes.
No. How did I know that?
But they have a unique. He has a unique perspective on it, and again, he is just a brilliant guy.
How do you know him? Because it seems like someone you wouldn't know.
Okay. That is a fair point.
You managed just like
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna
yeah,
say
I
sneak
study
an
him.
insult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I admittedly, I have been. We're not close buds, but I think a lot of him. We have a mutual friend, and I was like, I'd like to have this individual on. So that's all the
Okay.
more you're getting out of me.
All right.
I think it'll be an interesting
Kevin, do you know-
conversation. None of our. It's not your and I's strong suit, to be
Okay.
perfectly honest. But I think that you'll be interested in just a fascinating person.
I have a thought as to who it is.
Okay.
But I know that this is in that category of like, I know them because I see them around the community.
Sure.
I think I've been in rooms with them.
I'm
I'm aware
sure
of
that's
what they
true.
do.
Yes.
But I do not know this individual.
Great.
So
All right.
if
People
it's
that
who
that
I think it
this
is.
is not really what we do. We truly have no idea who this person is.
Yeah, I was like, I actually went back and replayed, like in my head, I'm going back through the clues, and I was like, okay, I think I narrowed it down to a couple of people, and then I went back, and I think I think the beating around the bush.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see.
Yeah, this is like the Penn and Teller Fool Us edition of the 419.
I wish you were the non-talking one.
Yeah, me too. I wish I could make you disappear.
I don't think that's Penn and Teller.
Oh, darn.
Yeah. Hey, tomorrow is Miles' birthday.
Happy birthday
Yes.
to Miles.
Yeah.
He's 28.
Man, it feels like it.
I bet.
I tell people, so he's 9, but I tell people that he's not my personality when I was 9. He's my personality right now as a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
And it's not appropriate at 44.
Yeah,
No.
sure.
It's really
Yeah.
not appropriate at 9.
yeah.
Imagine him in 4th grade trying to live with that.
Oh, he calls me Kevin. So I just hope that like he doesn't call his teachers by their first name.
I hope he does.
You
I hope he
wake up
does.
with a cup of Joe every morning and he looks at the stock market.
Maybe
No,
like,
he's
listen,
just
Kevin.
just recently started like leaving his room in pajamas. But even like as a little kid, he was like, no, I got to get ready for the day. So he'd like wake up, go brush his teeth, put on his clothes.
Does he put a pocket square in a jacket?
You know what?
Yeah.
He is a bow tie kid.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
He
That's
converted
awesome.
the Sweet Pickles bus into a beer distributing.
Yeah, don't put him on a school bus. He'll figure out how to serve beer on it.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right. When we come back, we've got Matt's surprise guest.
Yeah.
And we get to see if we know who it is.
Yes, I was going to try to think of another smart clue, but I'm all out of thinking. We're limited.
Yeah.
I could use computer assistance.
Would you say that your intelligence is rather artificial?
Okay, yeah, you're on it.
All right. We'll be right back here on the 419 with Matt's surprise guest.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Get ready, Toledo. 419 Day is almost here.
Join us April 19th for a live recording of the 419 show.
Celebrate your favorite WGTE personalities, which I cannot fathom are us.
Purchase and make a custom shirt from Jute Mode with proceeds supporting WGTE.
And enjoy Deed's Food Truck, PBS Kids, Metro Parks, and much more.
It all happens from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Jute Mode, 1811 Monroe Street in your beloved Toledo, Ohio.
You won't want to miss 419 Day, where the best of Toledo comes together. Welcome back into the 419, a mystery guest edition. It's Matt's surprise guest, and it turns out I was right.
Yes, you were, which I knew that you would bring that up because
No, it does not happen often.
that's true.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to need you guys to write a note that I can take home to my wife to say I actually don't, because
Yeah.
then if I'm right,
Kevin,
then
I
I
sent your
don't
wife
have
a
a
lot of
chance.
notes, so
Nope.
don't worry.
Nope.
Yeah, no
Nope.
problem.
That's
It's a
all right.
slightly different subject matter.
Next topic. Tom Bush, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for doing this, man. We get to fanboy out a little bit on you, at least I get to, so I appreciate you getting up early. Are you a morning person?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
It's usually an early start for me. I've got 4 or 5 now. She just turned 5 yesterday, and a 7-year-old. So we
So
are
they're
always up early.
Very
5
early.
and 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's whenever people ask, how do you do it? I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. And well, now 7-year-old. She would want me to make sure I made that distinction. So I'm like, no, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there, like for me, like I mentioned, my son turns 9 tomorrow. He's a mini me, but like it creeps me out.
Yeah.
Like when I see him do things that are very much me. Do you see yourself in your kids?
My son's personality is unique unto himself, and it's awesome to see because
Yeah.
it's really cool when it starts to come in so strong. You're like, oh, you're actually a person, and you've got personality, and it's such a joy to watch them figure out the world and go through that.
We're doing our usual. We brought you on, we said your name, and we provided no context as to. But Tom, in my opinion, you have a unique Toledo story. You are, these are my words, you are an expert in a burgeoning field of AI. There's a really important community component of it, and we'll probably get to that in the second segment. But Tom, if you were introducing yourself and talking about sort of your origin story, tell me where you're from and where you grew up.
Yeah, so first, thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
I appreciate being the show and tell
Totally.
piece of the day. I grew up in Tecumseh, Michigan, which is just over the border here from where we're sitting, and I've always been involved in tech. As a 12-year-old, I think the middle school librarian was tired of having me stay after school and hang out in the library because they probably could have gone home at 3 and my parents weren't off work till 5. So
Sure.
I would hang out and play on computers. And so he ended up getting me a job at the Tecumseh Public Library where I worked at the computer lab they had just installed. And so I taught adults as a 12-year-old how to use computers.
Oh my
What did your
gosh.
folks do? Were they tech oriented?
Nope. My dad ran the printing press at the the Tecumseh Herald.
Sure.
And my mom helped lay out books. That was kind of her shtick that she
Okay.
did. So Neither of them deeply into tech. My dad did work for Radio Shack for a period of time, and so he had a TRS-80, which was my first computer at home, and my only computer at home for most of high school, most of my childhood. So that's why I would stay after school in order to play with a decent computer that could actually do something.
Do you remember the kind of that first moment where it was like, oh, this is exciting to me, or I want to know what's behind this, or I need to know how this works?
For sure. I mean, it was that TRS-80 sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Where we grew up in Tecumseh, my closest neighbor was 2 miles away. So I was literally in the middle of a field. And my older brother was my best friend, and so you know how siblings are. So I'd spend a lot of time alone, and
with ice on your eyes.
No cable, no TV, and so it was kind of a really basic bringing. So that computer was something that was, I was able to take control of and own, and kind of play with, and so that's what got me excited. But I mean, we're talking back in the days when it was DOS prompt, and literally the excitement was you could write a program that would cause the words to repeat on the screen over and over again, and you'd be like, yes, I did it.
So this is you're in the 80s, 90s? 80s?
This is early 90s,
Early 90s, okay.
So
you've done that, right, Gretchen?
Yes, I have.
I can't believe you.
I'm a programmer.
Yeah, Gretchen said right. I was like,
no, I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do
Tecumseh.
Gretchen's still trying to figure out how to get her website to say hello world.
Yes, exactly.
Yep. So that led me to, strange, I still can't put together a few pieces. There's some aspects of my, where I tried to troubleshoot computers and didn't know how I was solving these problems. But as I think the advantage of youth is that our kids, and the reason we always think, oh, the older folks think the kids are so good at tech is because they don't fear it, right? They just, they don't think they can break it. They don't know they can break it, so they just go at it. And I think I had that kind of spirit and attitude towards it. So I started helping a lot of adults embrace computers and whatnot back in the day. I actually was teaching teachers how to incorporate Yahoo and the internet into curriculum back in the day, which is funny to come full circle now where I'm helping teachers incorporate AI into the curriculum now. And
do you still help people with computer stuff and tech stuff?
Absolutely. Yeah. You can't avoid it.
But Tom, don't you from Tecumseh to where? Don't let Gretchen ruin
the trajectory. I'll go through it pretty quick because it may not be as exciting. But
it's interesting.
From Tecumseh, the Lenawee Intermediate School District, hired me off of my library job. I worked for the Lenawee County School District as a coordinator of distance learning while I was still in high school. And then when I left to go to Michigan State, I left, it was such a gap in their situation that they asked me to come back and said, we'll pay for you to finish at Eastern. And so I finished my degree at Eastern.
So they paid for you to move closer to continue to support their tech needs.
Yeah, exactly.
You're a considerably young man.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like 19?
Exactly, 19 years old.
That's crazy.
And I was, I grew up very poor, so I didn't have much. And so when somebody said, I'll pay for your education, I was like, done. No matter what. And so I was making, $29,000 a year doing that. And then when I graduated with my bachelor's in computer science, I said, hey guys, give me $1,000 raise, make it an even 30. And
good negotiator.
That's right.
That's right, Tom.
I'm now a bachelor's in science and computer science, and they said no. And so I started applying everywhere. And fortunately, GE Aviation they were doing a big hiring spree, and they hired me into Grand Rapids, Michigan. So I moved from Tecumseh to Grand Rapids, Michigan. Which was fantastic because I watched Grand Rapids, Michigan go from nobody wants to be downtown to everybody wants to be downtown. Yeah. And so it was really cool to be there for that transition. And I was making computers that fly airplanes. And so if you fly on a 737 or a 787 today, some of my software is still flying on those aircraft.
Tom, never at any moment did you feel like, what the hell is Tom Bush from Tecumseh, Michigan doing in this room? Or are you just constantly feeding off the new experience? Like, you mentioned youth, not being fearful of breaking it, or the exploring intellectually, from an intellectual capacity. Have you always been like that? Or was there a moment like, I'm a fraud and I need to go back to Southeast Michigan?
It's called imposter syndrome.
I'm well aware
what you're describing.
Tom.
Killam syndrome.
I never really felt imposter syndrome until I ended up at Amazon, and I'm sure we'll get to that piece of the story. When I went to GE, it was almost more, I was intrigued that these older folks were trusting me so much.
Sure.
If you ever look in a cockpit of a 737, you're going to see a lot of text, and so the computers that have a lot of text on them were the avionics pieces we were building. And so at one point, one of my first projects, they said, the military has asked us to build this refueling tanker, and you heard it. Unfortunately, recently one crashed, and that was the airplane that I had worked on some of the avionics. Fortunately, it was an avionics issue. Anyway, they said Boeing really wants us to build this big, giant touchscreen display to control all of this refueling equipment. Can you put together the quote for that? And I had, come from nowhere, and I'm like, why are you asking? I don't even know how to dollarize software at that point.
And the last negotiation you did was for $1,000 for 4 years.
Exactly.
That's just going to be $1,500.
Well, I come to a $10 million estimate effectively, and they're like, okay, and they pass it to Boeing, and Boeing says no. So it wasn't successful. But I think one of the things is you find where you have a niche, and you step into it, and you own it, right? And I think there's a saying out there that if you spend 100 hours on something, you're actually smarter on that thing than most people. And I think we don't give ourselves enough credit that when you have been involved in it, if you feel that imposter syndrome, it's because you think other people know, but the reality is you probably know it best. And so these experts in avionics were relying on me as the newcomer because I had done some graphical programming, and that's the skill they wanted. And so I was an expert at that. In their eyes, compared to them, because I've spent my curriculum in college learning it. So, and I think another piece of the puzzle, because I got asked to speak at BGSU recently, and one of the questions was, what was your keys to success in your career? And it ends up being this: find the problem of your boss, solve that problem for your boss, make your boss look good, and life gets really easy, and your success comes quickly.
That's well said.
Yeah, it is like a shockingly simple concept. I mean, it's not in practice, it's not as easy as it sounds there, right? But that idea of take care of the people around you and don't worry about yourself. But that's not a natural resting position, because self-preservation, like this idea of I'm going to put my boss ahead of me, isn't where everybody's at. Is that, I mean, obviously you talk about, your parents and what they did. I mean, is this a community, growing up in a small town community thing?
Yeah, and I think I benefited from being in band, to take it back to the basics. In Tecumseh, Jimmy Rice, who's still around and is a really great guy, he would bring in Dr. Tim Leitzenhauser, who, and I probably butchered his last name, but Dr. Tim was a leadership expert. And he would go to band students, and he would bring in these auditoriums of band students, and he would do leadership training to these students. And so I benefited from his. In fact, I use one of his gimmicks pretty regularly when I'm doing big room spiels. And so I think that little exposure, then I was the drum major, and I got to go to drum major camp, which also exposed you to leadership. Like if you're doing drills in the sun, don't make the whole band stand into the sun. You reverse the band, you stand in the sun, right? And it's kind of that servant leadership attitude. And I think that really helped infuse me with a lot of empathy and think of for others. And, a few coaching moments where people said, don't worry about the raise, worry about the work, and the raise will come. And things like make your boss look good and they'll take care of you. And, some of these just don't sit back and wait for somebody to give you the next problem to solve. Be looking around for the problem to solve.
So where did you go after GE? Was that?
So 15.
What was your instrument?
Tuba.
Oh, tuba.
Which I marched at Michigan State, which was amazing for the 2 years I was at Michigan State, and it was great.
Tuba or sousaphone?
Yeah, well, sousaphone was marched at Michigan State, but tuba I was actually pretty good. My dad played tuba. And when you have a tuba at the house, you're going to play tuba. My brother played tuba because
that's just what big tuba. That's just what big tuba wants you to think. I apologize on behalf of the Sousaphone Association of Northwest Ohio.
John Phillips is rolling over in his grave.
Yes.
I mean, speaking of graves, we did have a tuba trio, and we did our big concert moment was we played a funeral, and. Strangely enough, 3 tubas playing is actually quite appropriate, it feels like, when it comes to that kind of ceremony. But
3 tubas playing was the name of my first band. So it's not a coincidence. It was all recorders. We got to it. Tom, oddly enough, I'm going to go back to Gretchen's good question, which is the first time ever for the show. We usually edit her out completely. And we actually brought you on to replace her entirely with AI, but we'll get to that. You do have, that's a fascinating component. Our mutual friend Steve Hansen and I talked about the Boeing experience and From there, though, there was a pretty sizable leap, in my opinion, for, again, even more so from a little guy from Southeast Michigan. You jumped from Boeing, or this experience, from GE to...
Yeah, well, what's great about GE is they would even say this back in the day, they would say that, one of the things that we produce most is leaders, right?
Yeah.
And so more than the products, because they were in all kinds of different domains, plastics, oil and gas, aviation. And so that leadership training that I got from GE really helped me continue to my career. So I moved up the corporate ladder. I became a master black belt in Six Sigma, which was one of the criteria to become an executive. And funny enough, I tell my team who Actual Reality Technologies, our consultancy, we bill by the hour, and so my team has to book hours. And I tell them I was trying to get to the executive level because you didn't have to log your hours anymore.
Yeah, right.
Like, this was one of the motivations. Second one was that you got to fly business class if it was longer than 4 hours. So I was like, these were the two reasons.
Those are motivators.
A carrot is a carrot indiscriminate of what it is. Yeah,
And
no,
so,
that is so relatable. I can't tell you how much it drives me to want to achieve so I can relieve myself of admin duties.
Right.
And not that's an important part of it, but I gotta hate it so much.
So anyway, I worked my way up the corporate ladder, and then I was on an executive grooming program where they would fly me around to the different companies. I was solving technical issues in oil and gas and in aviation and plastics and healthcare. And Amazon ended up poaching me off of that program. So they discovered me mainly because of my master black belt in Six Sigma. Fortunately, the guy who hired me was...
Now, what is a master black belt in Six Sigma?
So Six Sigma is process improvement. It's basically, it's like lean is a technique of reducing waste in a process, and Six Sigma is a bunch of statistical analysis to be able to find the exact thing you should focus on in order to make the biggest improvement, to save time, to optimize.
Who gives you that distinction? What is that? How is that?
It's a certification process. So you do
like a number of tests you have to take.
Yep.
And,
Gretchen, if you were the guest, I would have asked you.
I am Six Sigma as well.
Did you go?
That is time to brag about.
Well, there you go. Okay.
No, she's one Sigma.
-1.
That's right. She can just tell that she identified whether or not you should put something in your mouth or not.
So the guy who hired me at Amazon, who found me, was effectively looking for this kind of skill set because the challenge he was facing was, how do large enterprises migrate to the cloud? And so talk about an interesting interview. The first interviewing with Amazon is interesting because it's a full day of interviews and they're asking you a bunch of different questions. You have to show up with a litany of stories of how you've solved different problems in the real world and things like that. My first day at Amazon, I literally walked into a conference room and I was handed a dry erase marker by my boss. And he said, great, you're here, facilitate this. We're gonna invent the new way that we migrate to the cloud. Now, to tell you, I didn't know AWS that well because my head were in the clouds. I was thinking about aviation and avionics. I had not explored the cloud and AWS, and it's a whole thing unto itself. Literally the week before my interview, I discovered, hey, you could get certified in this. And so I sat for on Monday, my interview was the next Monday. On Monday, I discovered that. So Monday, I signed up to take the test on Friday, started studying, took the test for what was called the AWS Certified Solution Architect, passed the test. And so that on Monday, when I sat for that interview, I was able to say, oh, do you have my resume? Oh, here's a new updated version, right? Like
since I left you.
Yeah, since we last spoke, I'm now certified in your technology. So that's another play that's interesting. Always be interested in the company that you're going.
That's absolutely.
Even if it's only 1 week of study.
But the idea of walking in day one and being the person at the front of the room, right? To say, I mean, the fear I have, I'm a relative extrovert, but the fear I still have of having to write on a board in front of other people, like, I can't imagine.
Well, and here we had, and I didn't know these people, so the intimidation maybe was a little bit down in the excitement of having a new job. But these were the experts at AWS, right? And it had been the problem that we were set there to solve was it took 2 or more years to migrate a corporate data center to the cloud. They needed it to be less than 6 months. And so in that.
And why? Why did they need it to be less than 6 months?
Because if you take too long, the companies lose interest, right? And it slows. It becomes molasses, and it slows and slows and slows, and you don't ever finish the project.
And for our audience, what is AWS?
AWS is Amazon Web Services.
Okay.
So AWS is the largest cloud provider in the world, and the cloud is basically data centers. So when you hear about data centers coming in, that's also what is running the cloud.
We're talking with Tom Bush with Actual Reality Technologies. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to
Talk about more interesting things.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
But we are going to hit fast forward and kind of jump ahead. I want to talk about Actual Reality Technologies.
And empowered AI as well.
AI and data centers. We got a lot to
And
cover.
if you can come to my office and help me with my computer.
100%.
She's got a new screensaver she wants to put on.
It's the flying toaster. We'll be right back on the 419.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love CBS Kids! We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end. It's a story. It's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
Monday through Friday, it's the 419 powered by WGTE. With Matt Killam, Gretchen DeBacker, I'm Kevin Mullen. What can people expect on the show?
It's going to be an hour, a reminder of why this is a great place to live, work, and play.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back into the 419. It's a mystery guest edition. We're talking with Matt's mystery guest, Tom Bush, with Actual Reality Technologies. You've got it's a fascinating sort of journey to get here, and I know we're going to gloss over a bunch of the time at Amazon, which I don't want to do because it's fascinating, but just in the interest of time, let's jump to more the present. So you leave Amazon, start your own thing.
Yeah.
What is that and why?
Yeah.
Amazon's got to be the pinnacle of a childhood tech nerd.
Absolutely.
Are they on the downslope? Are they falling apart? Seems like you got out while you could.
No, I don't think so. I see bright futures, and I still have a lot of stock in them. So I got to say they're going to be great, right?
Yeah, right. Sure.
And yeah, what ended up happening, it was a very interesting set of circumstances. I was 5 years with AWS, the cloud portion. The last 2 or 3 years, I moved myself from the cloud to Amazon corporate finance. And the reason was I was leaning into my Master Black Belt in Six Sigma. I'm like, I want to see if I can actually change enough and improve enough things that I can take credit for a piece of the stock price. Like, I want to say that 10-cent change, that was because I did something, right?
Tom, I know that I've asked a similar question already, and maybe this just outs myself in my level of insecurity. But, Michigan State, Eastern Michigan, certainly fine institutions, you are now, at least in the United States, at the top of the food chain from a tech and intellectual space. And you are still chipping away. What is there a competition in this? Are you competing against your colleagues? Or are you competing against the problems to solve? What's the balance between those two things?
I think I learned early on, setting a goal and achieving the goal. It's a strange moment in my life that at age 13 I set out my entire life, right? Yeah. And I don't know many people do that, but I set all these milestones.
Yeah, they're called murderers.
Right? There you go. Thank you. And I drink black coffee, which also says something. But I set all these goals for myself of when I'm 30, I'm going to have, this amount of salary, I'm going to do these things. And when I'm 40, I'm going to do, and, the interesting thing about setting goals is that often you achieve them, right? You don't necessarily, when they're these big, out there goals, you don't necessarily know every path of how you got there, but suddenly you look back and you're like, oh, I intended to achieve this, and I did. And often for me, I've been very lucky, and that a lot of these goals came way sooner than I thought they would. So I'm sitting at Amazon. I've basically made their finance team autonomous after 2 to 3 years of work. And, this new thing came around called ChatGPT, right? And I'm sitting there, I've been writing lots of books with ChatGPT. And what I mean by that is I've been having ChatGPT ideate books with me, and I have ADHD, so I didn't finish any of them.
Sure, yeah. You'll find a safe place here to talk about that.
But one of the books that I decided to say, I was worried about ChatGPT stealing my data, so I said, hey, let's write this fictional book, right? Making sure it knew it was fiction. About this guy named Tom Bush, this character named Tom Bush. But then I started feeding it my entire real life story, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a thought that, like that example I gave in the first segment about leaving Michigan State and going to Eastern Michigan, my thought was, well, if I tell it my full story, I can then explore at that college moment when I made that life decision, what would have happened if Tom Bush stayed at Michigan State, and let it write some of the story about that alternate time universe, right?
Yeah.
So I could study the multiverse through this activity. What ended up happening, and this is what changed the whole trajectory, was that when I got to Time Now, I realized that this little sliver of a lie had started to grow, and I was lying to myself. And that lie was effectively my give back story. I didn't have one. And so almost simultaneously when I came to that realization, I was like, and in my story I had made up basically because of my growing up situation, my lie was effectively Tom was buying these poor homes and renovating them really nice so that these people, but still renting them very cheaply, right? That was my give back story that I had lied in there. But knowing that I didn't have necessarily the funds or the ambition to renovate all these houses, I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I got to do something. And almost simultaneously, and I would say as literal as the word simultaneous can be, I was coming to that realization, figuring out what am I going to do to give back. And the Bitwise story fell apart. Now, my brain was in Seattle. I had not been paying attention to Toledo at all. But
living here.
But I lived here in Maumee, yeah. And when it was weird because I hadn't really been watching news either. But here was Bitwise. They described what it was, and they said they were a week from opening their doors, and they're shutting down. And I was like, what a great idea. I loved the concept of like, hey, how do we use tech to help lift up a whole population? How do we give people different pathways in life? And I had been experimenting already with myself on augmented intelligence. How do we use AI to superpower the human, to really energize the human? And so I knew with my augmented intelligence concept that I could actually revolutionize what Bitwise was doing and do it faster, do it better, do it bigger. And so I came on the scene basically reaching out to the person who was on the news from Bitwise saying, hey, if you need don't let this die. It's right for Toledo. Who cares if somebody in Fresno committed fraud? Let's do it in Toledo. If you need a fire, I'll be the fire. Well, that person said, I'm out of here because I just got fired and I'm heading back to California where they were from. And so they said, talk to this guy named LaShawn, who is our mutual connection. And when I reached out to LaShawn, I said, well, you were a week from opening. You must have all the books. You must have the students. You must have the funding. Like, you must have the building, the furniture. Everything must be ready to go because you're a week from opening doors. He's like, yeah, we got all that. I said, well, why aren't we going to do this? Like, why don't we just do it ourselves? He's like, well, I don't know what to do next. And I said, I don't know either, but let's figure it out together.
Yeah.
And so then that started my partnership with LaShawn. And so I launched Actual Reality Technologies as the for-profit company. And then I launched a nonprofit called Empowered AI. And I actually was still working at Amazon and did a conflict of interest form with them saying, hey, I'm going to launch this nonprofit that is going to basically help individuals who are not traditional tech folk get tech-related skill and jobs. But nobody's going to hire them because of the paper ceiling, which is they don't have a degree. And so therefore I need to create this for-profit company that will take the risk on these individuals and hire them in. And my consultancy, Actual Reality Technologies, while we are solving business problems and automating business and doing a lot with manufacturing as well, at its thesis is we need to become profitable enough so that we can take a risk and on these individuals who we've trained up through Empowered AI, put them in here and then have them consult with companies so the companies see how good they are. And then my contracts basically have no protection. It says, if you like them, poach them, like take them, pay them more than I can, please.
Right, I'm a vector.
Yeah, exactly. So we're creating this new path. And so that's our re-envisioning of it. And we're kind of at the early days of it. And we've kind of also used Empowered AI to start to grow other aspects. So one thing we did, I was probably first in the world to take AI to a homeless shelter. So we went to Cherry Street Mission. And we actually intersected a 6-week-long class where they're teaching these adult learners how to use computers. I mean, the basics of copy and paste. And we said, well, can we get 4 hours where we show them how to use ChatGPT to improve their resume to get a job? Because I want to run I'm testing all of these hypotheses. Like if I show them that it's that they can do resume stuff, will they forever think ChatGPT only does resumes? Will they have the creativity to think across all these different dimensions of how you can use a chat solution like that? Will they get it? I can't even talk to my own parents about what I do every day without them tuning me out. So am I going to lose half the class? You know, so we had whole contingencies about what do we do to entertain a class that has been, you know, disengaged.
Sure.
And, you know, the crazy part was I was wrong on most vectors. Yeah, they absolutely got what we were giving them, right? They understood exactly what this thing could do and were super excited about it. And the thing that I didn't foresee that had me literally crying in my car afterwards was the confidence level. Mm-hmm. When you use a chat solution, suddenly you feel more confident because every question you have the answer. Now, Google used to be that, but Google, the problem was that you had to then, it would show you a bunch of links and then you had to go read it all. So it was a very time consuming. So it wasn't a moment where I could get an answer instantly. And I couldn't have it reflected in a way that I could understand it, you know? Yeah. And we went through and we taught these individuals, you know, like if you don't understand a concept, tell it to explain it to you like you're a fifth grader, right?
Hey,
and
Tom,
I can rewrite that.
This experience, although not totally aligned, this story isn't dissimilar to yours, right? I mean, tech brought you, that pulled you out of, you said that you had a relatively poor upbringing.
Right.
And it was your embracing of tech. You use that as
it's an empowering tool, yes.
To get to where you are.
Exactly.
So this is the next version of it.
Exactly.
I mean, you weren't in a shelter, but
it's faster and it's democratized.
Yes.
That's the difference
well
here.
Said.
Like I had to nerd out in order to get what I needed.
Yeah. And
now
with the tuba, you embraced that.
All right, I nerded all the way. And
how do students find empowered AI? How if mom or dad has a kid that's maybe interested in this or think that they would benefit from it, how do they find you to get involved in it?
Yeah, so if you go to empoweredai.org, you can see the types of programs we put on. So, and some of this comes from a thesis.
Do you need help with your website? Because I could help you build it.
Yeah, there you go.
Sure.
We have AI building it now, but yeah, it's good. So Empowered AI is putting on lots of different things, and I'll tell you one of the thesis one of the funny moments, and I want to also put this out there. I think Northwest Ohio is the most welcoming startup community in the U.S. Because within a week, literally within a week, I had customer conversations. I didn't even know what I was doing yet, right? Sure. And I was already being put in front of customers. I had the opportunity to, I got an email from John Husted, Lieutenant Governor of Ohio at the time. Within 1 week of saying, hey, I'm going to do something in the community, John Husted sends me an email, hey, Tom, I hear what you're doing. I love it. I think it's great. I respond by saying, hey, man, I'm super excited. I'm going to 10x Toledo's tech ecosystem, and here we go. It's going to be great. And I send that message, and I'm like, oh, crap. 10x. Like, I don't even know what our tech ecosystem looks like.
That's right. Yeah.
And so fortunately,
I don't know what 1x is.
Right? Yeah. And so that helped me set a goal. Okay, I set it to the Lieutenant Governor now. I guess I got to do it. Like, okay, what does it mean? I started figuring out where are we at. I had to create a website called Toledo.directory if you go out there, or tolder.com. You will see all of the tech-oriented companies listed, because I would constantly be talking to people and I'd say, I'm 10xing Toledo's tech ecosystem. Do we have a tech ecosystem?
Right.
Yeah, right.
And so I had to be like, yeah, and I'm encountering them all the time. Yeah. And if I would ask them, how many do you think we have? People would generally guess at
5.
10.
Exactly. And so we have 150.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Or more, because I keep finding more and more. Right. And we have some startups that are constantly starting up.
This use of what you're doing with Empowered AI in your company is so interesting to me, because it's the use of, or the training on ChatGPT for students that is one of the most non-worrying ways that I've heard of the use of that technology. Because so often we hear, that it's going to take people's jobs away, that it's going to eliminate the need for artists or for creative people, because you can just put something into a computer and have them write a book for you, or create a graphic for you, or those kinds of things. So how do you square, is part of your plan to sort of square those things, to take away some of the fear of the use of it? In addition to that, what is your belief in the current reliability of the information that we get from these AI-generated searches?
Great question. Let me start with the last one. So when I say I made Amazon's finance team autonomous, specifically in the controls space of finance, it had nothing to do with firing people. It had everything to do with getting the finance folks out of the assembly line of finance and into the business office of finance. If you looked at Amazon's finance team when I showed up, and the reason I changed my trajectory, because I was going to make all these impacts and change the stock price, and then I saw how Excel-driven things were and how it wasn't as automated as you would expect being a high-tech company. That made me change my, well, how do we get the human out of the drudgery of finance, which is passing Excel spreadsheets around?
Sure.
And so our mantra became, we need to be able to allow Amazon to continue to scale without having to hire more finance folks. And so it's about creating productivity within the individual, within the role, and then automating a bunch of the work so that they don't have to do that. So that they can, because why do you have a finance person in a company? It's so that they can give business advice to the business person about how to best utilize the funds as they come in, what's cash flow, etc. If they're always busy building the reports, they're never going to get to that advising part.
Exactly, right, sure, right.
And so,
God forbid they think about what next.
Exactly,
That's
exactly.
Right.
And so what we're going to see is that, yes, there will be some struggle in this fear piece. And so, yes, I'm attacking it from a position of, well, it's going to be here. Let's figure out how to make it so it superpowers humans, and let's all figure out how we evolve with it versus have it, overcome us with this tech wave. And if we don't embrace it that way, we will become, the tech divide will get broader, bigger.
Right, but your position on your philosophy on human empowerment using AI is fabulous. It's amazing. I've never heard anybody say anything like that. But the billionaire oligarchs, right? They think, I think, oh, great, automate, and so I can get rid of these people.
Yeah.
So again, I think, how are you concerned about that? Are you concerned about getting your philosophy into the hands of the people that are making decisions about workers?
I think there's a little bit of A and a little bit of B. When I was attacking this problem from, hey, I need a 10x tech ecosystem, Toledo's tech ecosystem. If I'm going to do that, I can't import all of the talent.
Right.
So I have to grow my own.
Right.
And when I looked at all of the available capacity, now when you empower an individual, the thesis I was working under is I can make someone billable, from a consulting perspective, billable within 2 weeks. That was the theory I was testing.
Wow.
And I ended up going to Bowling Green State University, grabbing 7 random students, didn't ask them what their skill set, didn't interview them.
That's usually illegal.
Right? Well, I didn't grab them. Thank you for calling that out, though.
Sure.
So invited them to come participate, and didn't interview them, didn't ask them their skill set. I just was I wanted to test it, could ChatGPT basically fill in the gap? And we built, the thesis was, can we build a iPhone app in 3 months? And I had never built an iPhone app. Being an aviation guy, my apps were way more boring, and I was intimidated by an iPhone app. But I said, in this age of AI, let's see if ChatGPT can help guide us into that. And so we did that. We built a racing app, an app that helped a Porsche Carrera Cup racer win. He was tagged to come in 3rd for the season. We gave him the app 1 week prior to the last race of the season. He used our app, and it basically differentiated him and made him, it augmented him.
What was it telling him to tips?
Turn left.
Well, yeah, right. In this case, it's not all left turns, but the story goes like this. Effectively, on the qualification race, the Friday race, where they're basically figuring out where they're going to line up, the car drove so poorly that he thought it was himself. And he looked at how our app was telling him to set up his car, and he looked how his highly paid engineer had said to set up the car, and they were vastly different.
Seriously?
And so he showed them to the engineer and said, and the engineer said, oops, he had screwed something up, right? And Mark said, well, forget your settings, just set it up how the app has said. And he said the car drove the best it had ever driven.
That's crazy.
I do think, excuse the hyperbole here, but I think, and again, excuse the hyperbole, but if we're going to war, right, meaning we want to survive as a flyover state, and tech is thought of as this evil empire, the only way to survive is by training people how to use their rifle, and I think that's exactly what you're proposing.
Exactly.
And kids and young people, they aren't certainly kids, deserve it. Go ahead.
We're talking with Tom Bush with Actual Reality Technologies and Powered AI. How do people find more information on both of these?
Yeah, so Actual Reality Technologies, if you're a business and you want to have automation, and it's actualreality.tech.
Is there a way, very quickly, is there a way for other tech companies or people in the industry to to gather? Is there a way for people to network to each other and find out these other companies that exist
great
in our
question.
community?
So through Empowered AI, we actually host on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays. We host Tech Night at Toll House. So Toll House is a local place here in Toledo. So you can find a gathering of tech people. Usually 50 to 60 people are showing up to it now. And so that's an opportunity
they're all
to
droids.
network. Yeah, right. And they're all augmented with AI for sure.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then, you know, one of the cool things, I just want to put a short plug in for Empowered AI. We've been helping the K-12 system embrace it. We have a program called Young Empowered Authors, where we're helping 7 to 12-year-olds get published on Amazon within a very short period of time. And we're going to be collecting them in May for a publisher's party. So all of our classes will have the most young kids collected, young authors in one location in the world.
That's
I
wonderful.
apologize for not getting to that, Tom.
Tom, thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
We
thank you.
are out of time. We need like 2 more hours
Yeah.
with you.
Right.
I want to do the same way we did with Lucas LCNC. I'd love to do
Me too.
a
Yeah,
tech
with tech.
conversation out in
That's
the
a great
community
idea.
with you.
At Toll House.
Let's do it. So we're going to do this. So we don't often tease social media stuff, but we ran out of time. Did not have time for Gretchen's Wacky Quiz. So we're gonna we're going to a break. When we come back, we'll have Carl Mitchell. But if folks want to hear Tom's Gretchen's Wacky Quiz, they're going to have to find it on social media.
There you go.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tom. We'll be right back.
Tom, thanks so much.
On the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Witro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at witroadvisors.com.
Destination Toledo. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Destination Toledo invites you to explore the region and be a tourist in Toledo. Find events, dining, and things to do at visittoledo.org.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And TARTA, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarta.com.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. Just wrapped up a conversation with Tom Bush from Actual Reality Technologies, Matt's surprise guest.
Good job, Matt.
There are some incredible voices around our community, Tom Bush being one of them, but we're also now joined by one of the voices around us, a podcast host here on WGTE. See what I did there?
See, good job, Kevin.
Carl Mitchell. Carl, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Tell us about your podcast.
Well, the Voices of Legacy is a program that was initiated for the purpose of sharing stories of lives well lived, interesting stories, hopefully. We've interviewed most of the mayors in and surrounding Toledo, most of local law enforcement, and then individuals that people have never heard of that have had awesome lives, from the first centenarian of last year here in Lucas County, who had, she's just a plethora of information.
So you've been on the show.
Yeah.
That was good.
Good one.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I have nothing to do with
Yes,
that. Yeah, that's the idea, and the impetus came from this being of the cloth and clergy. I've done over 200 some odd funerals over my 20+ year career in ministry, and most of the time I never got a chance to know the person personally. So not to be morbid, but it's an opportunity for people to tell their own stories.
Yes, sir.
And everyone does have an interesting story.
Oh my goodness,
That's
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your church?
The Bible Way, Toledo, historic Bible Way. Been around since 1963, incorporated 64.
What was the impetus for you to start this podcast and to go down this journey with WGTE?
I actually came to support somebody else that was starting a podcast because they were kind of nervous about doing a podcast, and also they knew that I'd been in broadcasting for some time. So I came for their meeting, and I got a call after that meeting, helping him out, and asking questions, pertinent questions, and so forth. And they said, well, we'd like to talk to you about doing a podcast. I'm like, let me talk to the guy that I came with first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I started. I had no intentions. I already broadcast on some other networks, but it's been a blast. I'm enjoying it. I've always been a fan of public media. So
us too.
Are you a lifelong Toledoan?
I was born and raised in Toledo up until about 16, and I'll be 55 this year. So I spent most of my life actually in the South.
Where in the South?
North Carolina, South Carolina.
Sure.
Yeah.
What brought you back to Toledo?
This is too much sun.
The Bible way. People passing away, unfortunately, and inheriting properties, and then the responsibility of the ministry. So I came back to help with the ministry.
Can you talk a little bit about what the responsibility of the ministry means to you?
Oh, it means a lot. We feed the hungry, we clothe the naked. We do all those things on a regular basis. I'm also the chaplain of the Buffalo Soldiers. People have heard of that.
Sure, yeah.
And we do the same thing there. So actually doing the work, being the hands and feet of God out in the community, not just proselytizing, anybody can do that, but showing people that love that causes those conversations to happen, hopefully towards changed lives.
You've had the opportunity to tell a lot of stories through your podcast.
Oh, yes.
What are some of the stories that, as folks, come visit WGT.org, go to the Voices Around Us, find your podcast. What are some of the stories that people are going to come find that you were most excited to tell, or maybe most surprised about?
Probably the centenarian. She shared something at the very end of that podcast that shocked all of us. She had been to every continent on Earth. All.
Wow.
And that's saying something.
Yeah. All three.
Well, yeah, way more.
Well, the earth is flat, so it's easy to walk there.
Oh boy. That's a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
Coast to Coast AM. But anyhow, I was surprised. I was like, really? Yeah. Amazing. And she was a school teacher as well, so that was pretty good. And then the sheriff of Wood County, he was exceptional. I was surprised. It was very good. And some of the promised interviews that we have coming up, some of our state leaders, one that's retiring. But there's been so many good conversations. We're almost to 50. Programs rather, and there's been a lot of really interesting conversations. Well worth binge listening if you like.
Where do you get the skill set to do the interviews? Did you just have a natural curiosity? Do you practice? How do you do it so well?
I like to say it's that because it is to a certain degree, but I've always been a fan of talk radio my whole life. I used to listen to, not to name drop, Bruce Williams. I remember being a kid calling into Bruce Williams thinking I was going to get in trouble. But if you don't know who that is, TalkNet, Sally Jesse Raphael came out of that show.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan, and the engagement from, I hate to, Larry King to Rush Limbaugh. These people that were able to communicate ideas and get people to talk and express themselves in ways that you don't normally hear. Yeah, I just love that. I love it.
There is such a skill set and a gift to be like one person on a microphone talking to no one and having them, like, and this is where, political beliefs aside, you look at what Rush Limbaugh was able to do, Larry King, was able to do. The ability to talk into a microphone and have the person on the other end feel like
you're engaging with them.
That you're talking to me, and I want to talk back to you, even though I know you can't hear me.
Yeah, and it's hours.
Yeah,
do it for hours.
On end.
Yeah. So I think 4 hours is usually the slot for it, right? And I do think that it's easy to, and we all are getting to experience in some way. The amount of work it takes. And really the amount of listening, it's listening that's the gift.
Yeah, you got to kind of care, even if you don't agree with whom you're talking to.
Yeah.
And that works better than anything else. My mentor right now in media, Mr. Fred Lefevre, he's been on the radio here in Toledo for over 40 years. And
Buffalo Soldier as well?
Yeah, he is.
Yep.
And man, he's good.
He is good.
Yeah.
He is good.
Yeah. Fred has this amazing gift that I'll go back and sort of like think about the last 60 seconds. And I'm like, that was 3 words that he just strung into 60 seconds or more. But it's interesting how he does it. So
does your ministry give you the opportunity to meet people that you want to have on your podcast?
Sometimes, yes. Yes, absolutely. Because we're very engaged in local, I hate to say politics, but we have to. Yeah. We have to, go to city council meetings. We have to go to school board meetings and things of that nature. So yeah, we run into all kinds of folks from every political aspect that they're just more interesting, I think, than they know.
Yeah.
Because we know the persona, and that leads us back to the Voices of Legacy. I try to get past the persona. That's what we see on television all the time. Who are you? How did you get to that office? What brought you to you know,
We get
whatever you're
to
doing.
do this every day.
Yes.
Who is your dream guest? Who's someone that you just, you know, you could retire the day you have that interview?
I don't know that I'll ever do that part. However, I have some promise. I so want to name drop, but I have some promised really big interviews from people that are in extremely high offices now that I met before they were ever there. One that's retiring, one that's still serving now. And we have to be careful, even who we're interviewing, especially on public media, in regards to whether they're running or not.
We are well aware.
Yes.
But nevertheless, there are some that are coming that are very exciting.
Yeah, cool.
Talk to us about public media, WGTE. Why is this station, this network, so important to Toledo?
We want to keep public media public. It's great that we can increase in donations and maybe even some advertisement, but however, I grew up with Sesame Street and Electric Company and all of that stuff, and that I don't believe that day is gone. But we have the opportunity as a community to support our public media to keep it public so that it serves everybody. Even Doctor Who. I don't know who ever watched Doctor Who back in the day.
British people.
Yes. Thames, and you heard the music and you saw the Thames River, and that's good stuff.
That's right.
And it serves everybody, so it is important.
How often is your podcast released, and where can people find it?
Every other Thursday. We have, I think, Miss Hope coming up on this Thursday, but every other Thursday.
The Voices of Legacy podcast available online at WGTE.org. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having
Nice to
me.
meet you.
I'm excited to check out Gretchen's podcast with you.
Yeah.
Happy 100th birthday.
That's right.
We'll be right back to wrap up this Friday edition of the 419. Get ready, Toledo. 419 Day is almost here.
Join us April 19th for a live recording of the 419 show.
Celebrate your favorite WGTE personalities, which I cannot fathom are us.
Purchase and make a custom shirt from Jute Mode with proceeds supporting WGTE.
And enjoy Deed's Food Truck, PBS Kids, Metro Parks, and much more.
It all happens from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Jute Mode, 1811 Monroe Street in your beloved Toledo, Ohio.
You won't want to miss 419 Day, where the best of Toledo comes together.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Welcome back into the 419 as we wrap up our mystery guest edition. As is always the case.
Yeah, that the author's portion of that, working with students, was one of my must-do bullet points, and we got sort of entranced.
Well, he is so interesting to talk to.
We didn't talk about data centers. We didn't really I wanted to dive in.
Well, I think people want to know more about Tecumseh, Michigan, and we really lean into that.
That's right. My great-grandparents lived in Tecumseh, Michigan.
Yeah, and a lot of things I don't care about. That's there.
That's at the top.
Yeah. There was a really handsome guy that played for Tecumseh's high school team and their indoor team, and he was really good too. So I hate Tecumseh because of this guy.
Because of that guy.
He was really good and just outrageously handsome.
Was he also named Matt?
I don't know. I was like, who is this person? I was like,
why does he exist with me in this room?
That's right.
Yeah.
But incredible conversation. A lot of cool things happening in the community. Well done, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
and then again, the Voices Around Us podcast series here at WGTE is awesome. We've got
embodies our spirit as well.
Yeah, and it's the community telling the community stories. Of course, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch it 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91 in Toledo, Bryan, Defiance, and Lima, 6 p.m. on WGTE Connects Channel 30.4, online at WGTE.org/the419, or download the new and improved WGTE app to catch your favorite episodes of the 419. Thanks to our guests for joining us, and thanks to you for being here as well. It's the 419, powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.